Good evening, folks. Good evening. So, just back with another trade breakdown from my trade today, Monday, the 11th of July. And I took a buy today and I actually came out with a managed loss. So, this trade was a loss today. Looking at the chart, I've got the replay tool going, and this is basically the two 4-hour candles prior to my session. So, both were bullish, and I was looking for buys. Now, this was my plan this morning based on this was just off of the hourly chart, and this was at around 7:10 this morning. So because I'm looking for buys, I identified, because we're trading below Asian range, what I would like to see is some form of support here. From an hourly chart, this looks pretty straightforward in the sense that we have structure here. We have broken out of structure, formed a target, and now we're pulling back. So do we pull back to a previous level of structure, form a support, which is sort of indicated with these arrows, and then continue? Or if we start to push up and we start to close above this daily support, could we look to push to potentially 164,756, which is sort of my next level higher time frame. Now there is a mid-range level in here which I would look at in terms of just seeing how price reacts. You know, if maybe we get some sort of volume push, maybe we could just continue on. So that was my idea. Now if I just go back to the charts, give me one sec. Apologies there, I think I just had to zoom. I was zoomed in a little bit too much. But yes, looking at the charts, what I was looking for was, of course, maybe like a higher support here because we're below the support. Now if I just skip through one 4-hour candle, that is how the 4-hour closed. So we didn't really see any form of upside. Now, of course, that's because we're in this zone. This is a daily zone across the board, which has seen quite a lot of reaction and rejection. So it's going to be tough trading in here. Essentially, what I would have preferred was to get a deeper pullback, find some form of support here in which I can trade up to this level. And if we see any sort of reaction, I would maybe close the trade. I don't want to hold and hope that we test these levels and break through, because if we weren't able to do that with what was happening up here, then it's going to be tough as we sort of approach that area again. Now, if I just flick to the 1-hour chart, this is, what time is this? This is 9 to 10. Oh, I'm not too sure what happened there. Let me just rewind this back and I'll just skip through a few hours here. Yeah, so this was the 9 to 10 candle. So this is basically the wick creation on this 4-hour. Now what I like about this is we have closed above resistance. We've kind of pushed down, rejected this support, and closed above this resistance. So looking at this on the 1-hour chart, to me it's as easy as this is our structure. We have pulled back in, formed support, closed above, right? That's how I'm looking at that. So what I wanted to do was buy here, stop loss here, and look to test the target. Now I know as soon as we get to here, get to here, get to here, if we get there are going to be levels and areas which are going to be tough. You know, we might not just break through them. So this is where my actual trade was. Now I will kind of discuss in a moment as to why I entered this position and not the earlier position, because when I go to the 30-minute, there actually is an entry on the 30-minute time frame. But I will get to that in a moment. But I'll just talk through my sort of trade. So this is my trade. Now, to me, this is a bad entry. It's not a bad entry. It's not where I wanted to enter. Because if I look at this, right, if I enter on the close, I have the exact same stop loss, which is below the support, and I target the same area, which is here. I get a 1-to-1 risk reward. Okay. Now my actual risk reward on my own trade is 0.68, 0.7. And the difference between entry to where I actually entered is 8 pips. So when I seen this, cause see when price was moving down here and we actually got this big bullish close below at London, I sort of said to myself, do you know what? I'm just going to get on with work. I've seen enough. We're maybe not going to get that trade. And then this R closed. We rejected this support. We closed above resistance. It looks like a picture perfect structure trade in terms of we break out, pull back, retest, continue, or we're shaping up to look like that's going to happen. Now, when this closed, the next candle opened, and it was kind of sitting around here, and I was just looking at the chart. I was just dwelling, and I was like, right, I don't know. I literally can't recall why I didn't just hit buy. I think I think I was maybe just not expecting to see what I was seeing because of such a heavy move down, failure to break up from the open of the 4 hour. I was maybe not prepared. Okay, now that's onus on myself because I decided to not engage with the chart for maybe an hour and a half, and just crack on with work. And it was just when I kind of looked, I set an alarm in here. When price was down here, I set an alarm in here. And when this alarm triggered, I had a look. And the reason I had my alarm in here was because this is a resistance. So if we pull down and we start to break back up and break above this, this is a good potential area to get involved in a long. Okay. So I sort of missed what occurred in here because I wasn't looking at the chart. I was working and I just had an alarm set. So when that triggered, I was sort of thinking, I was trying to digest what the chart had done. I kind of understood that I had missed an opportunity on the 30-minute time frame. However, from an hourly time frame and structure, it still made sense to buy. Okay, so I was sort of dwelling on that, and as I was doing that, price moved up. So based on my data, based on when I enter, based on achieving like 0.5, there is every chance that this is going to continue, right? So I said to myself, I'll just enter. I'm going to come out if we win at best 0.7, and if I close out at 0.5, which is kind of just above Asian low, that's still going to be a winning trade, and it is an opportunity. Okay, now, so when I done that, that happened. Okay, so I got involved in that trade. So let me just delete this. So this is my opportunity here. Now, in terms of managing this position, I'd understood that from my entry to my first point of interest is literally 4 pips. If I had entered on the close, I would have had about 12, 13 pips, which is actually more than enough to get into a position and see what happens up here, right? Now, what actually happened was the 30-minute had formed a lower resistance in terms of what the 30 minutes chart's doing. If you're looking at this from a 1 hour perspective, you can see that we don't close below the support zone. We close below the bodies, but we're still within an area of rejection and reaction to buy from. If we look at it from a 30, you could say the same thing, but you could say like, well, we've closed below support here. This could just be a pullback to form a lower resistance to continue down because we are moving bearish. Okay. Now, understanding that my entry wasn't great, understanding that I had potentially missed, or not potentially, I did miss the opportunity on the 30-minute, and understanding that this could be a lower resistance to continue down based on the fact that that's the short-term trend. We are at a daily support zone. We are at sort of range area looking left. There is, 4 or 5 things that just don't tickle my fancy. So when price started to break down, after pushing up and rejecting the first area of interest, which I mentioned, which was here, and we started to break down, I actually just manually closed the position, because it was like, you know what, the opportunity had gone. Price isn't doing what you want it to see, and your entry is kind of late, Kevin, so it's not ideal, right? So I closed the trade. So I took a loss of 0.3. Okay, about 0.31. Now if I just kind of play out what happened, we can see that this arc pulled down. And one thing I want to touch on is when this R formed a support, what we must do is ask the next candle, is that going to respect this support? And this candle forms a lower resistance, but the support is respected. And we actually form, you could say, higher support. And then what happens is price continues. We push up, and we don't actually touch a 0.5%, and then we actually come down. So we didn't achieve target. We did move into a profitable position with this candle wick, and this would have been about 12 pips in profit if I had have entered on the close, right? But as you can see, even if I measured up to 0.5, which is where I sort of manage at the moment, or secure, we didn't even reach that. If I had have entered on the close, stops below where they would have been originally, you can see that we would have achieved 0.5 easily. Okay, so you can kind of see there how my entry being off by 8 pips has kind of affected the risk to reward profile, and how this could have been a winning trade. So not ideal for me in terms of entry, but it's solely down to my fault in terms of not viewing the chart when it was still my trading session. Okay, so if I just kind of look at this here, we can kind of see that this was my target. It did look kind of good in terms of we had pushed down, formed a support, we had formed a lower resistance, and we failed to continue down. So see when the second R closed at 11 o'clock, or 12 o'clock, sorry, and the second bullish support, it was an option to take a second trade. But, as much as we're not breaking down, we're not really breaking up, and we're finding areas which price is struggling at, which is of course the support zone low, and of course Asian range, this wick rejection. So when I sort of seen this play out, although it looks more so that we're going to move up in the market than down, because overall structurally we're bullish. I just didn't like buying into this again. I said to myself, do you know what? If you're going to get another opportunity, let's wait and see if we can actually break through here and close above here, and maybe form a higher support or pull back in, form a higher support, and as we start to leave this area, look to see if you can, potentially buy up here. But of course that never came, and price just, continued down, and if I just come out of the replay tool, this is basically where we are at the moment. So let me just hide this a second. So structurally we're just sort of ranging at the moment. It's not really attractive to trade at the moment, but again, this could just be a deeper pullback for continued upside. If you're looking at this on the 4-hour chart, this is solely just a support, resistance, higher support, higher resistance, pullback to form a higher support. Is this going to form here? Is it going to pull down here? Or are we just going to continue up like this? It depends where this forms, but ideally what I would want to see now is a solid 4-hour candle forming a support that can give us our base, and then we can kind of look to see if that can be respected and look to potentially buy with that. And if I look at this on the 1-hour chart, what we're doing is we've kind of broke structure, pulled up, broke structure, we're ranging. So if we break down, what I would like to see, of course, is price breaking structure and changing structure to the upside. So if we come up and close above here, pullbacks in to respect this and continue, or close above here, change structure back to the upside with a support and a higher support, and look to potentially buy that up. And of course, this area is going to be very important. So for me, that is my loss of 0.3%. And so for me, just this month, I've taken 5 trades. I've had 4 winning trades, and a losing trade, and I'm kind of sitting at around plus 2.5% or so for this month so far. So um a bit annoying for me to take this trade today and take this loss, because I haven't had a losing trade since June, and I've been kind of getting involved in the right opportunities, which is good to see. And the fact, a little hesitancy or not being as prepared, you allowed me to take a loss today, is a little bit disappointing, just from my own personal standpoint. However, my management is what keeps me in the game. My management is what allows me to be consistent each month. So the fact that I was able to take a loss, which was less than I set out to lose, is a win in itself. So that's always good. I'm keeping my losers short, and yeah, we'll just continue into tomorrow and see what happens then. Just before I go, what I was going to mention was that 30-minute trade. So if I just kind of bring the replay tool back to what my hourly opportunity, which is here. If I go to the 30-minute chart, I should have really been buying on this candle, because at the end of the day, I'm looking for buys. So I'm only looking for supports to form, supports to be respected, and I would be buying. I'm not looking for sales. I don't care where we come down to. I'm solely looking for the support. So when this 30-minute candle forms a support at 9 o'clock, what we need to do is we need to see that support respected with another bullish candle, and that will then confirm the support. So the fact that we formed a support, and then we'd actually change structure on the lower time frames, closing above a higher high, higher close, respecting the support. Looking at this on the 15-minute, we can see that we've had 4 bullish 15-minute candles. We've failed to break down after a bearish move down. On the 5-minute, it looks great in terms of, this is where we've got the change in structure. This is where we close above the most recent resistance, and we come back in. And then if we skip through a couple of candles, we can see that we then get a support, higher support, higher support, and this is where we continue. So if I look at this on the 30-minute and I execute on this trade, my first target is going to be this candle here, because this is the clean move down, or you could even say here, right? But if I use the stop loss here, I'm already getting a 1.36. Even if I go to that candle there, that's over 1%. So if I manage how I did, I would be securing 0.5%, or I would be just taking a full 1%, because that's more than enough. There's no need. If I can get to here and secure 1%, or here and secure 1.3 without having to, go through challenging areas, try and get through here, try and break here, try and push through here, I could just trade to this level and be done. So that is the trade that I should have been involved in. I should have been buying on this support candle. And just again, I wasn't actively looking at the chart, because I had my alarm set above the resistance. I was only notified when we got here, but I should have been buying in here. So that would have been the trade that I would have taken, and I would have been able to get a winning trade on that. So just to touch on that trade, it's in line with my bias. I'm looking for buys. I'm just going to wait patiently for a support to form. We pull back into a previous level of structure. We form a support. We fail to break the support. We confirm the support. We change structure on the 5-minute, which leads into the 15, which leads into a push in line with the bias, overall structure being bearish. So yeah, that's just that example of the trade I should have been in. But you can kind of see on the 1 hour how this still looks very nice in terms of breakout, retest, continuation, or at least a retest of the highs. But of course, we know that we're tapping into a daily zone. We're tapping into what's left, which is why we haven't broken this. And it's just a tough area overall to buy into. So in that sense, I could have potentially said to myself, is this one which just maybe isn't worth it? But for me, it did make sense, and it was offering me, from a risk reward perspective, an option to get involved. But again, due to my entry, it just kind of made that a little bit more difficult.